What's so African about African art? African modernists were good at communicating without language. They used this thing called oral tradition, which is spoken history of people or countries, passing on cultural traditions by talking. They also used pictures and or artwork to communicate as well.
They have causation. Okay, so all these things are regulators of society. They're called nkisi. Nkisi comes from the word kunzi, which is the word to cure. Now what do we mean by curing? To cure is to rebalance something. When something is not operating, or it's going too fast, too slow, too bright, too dark, you're sick, everything is not working. That can apply to society. It can apply to a particular person. It can apply to the way that if there's no vegetation, you don't exist. If there's no water, you don't exist. So we're depending on something much greater than each individual, right? So there are community pieces here, which are the larger pieces. That they're charged. What does mean charged? They have three particular elements. Okay. All right, they have three particular elements that makes an adhesive. It has to have something from the vegetable kingdom, it has to have something from the mineral kingdom, and it has something from the animal kingdom. So all of these things have those elements. You will see a lot of horns in these objects because these horns are containers of magic. They're part and parcel of the object itself. The object itself, you will see if you take that object in the center with a long horn, right there, yeah, see it? That is a female Nkisi. So you see how powerful she is. She has the antelope horn, which will give her some of the totemic aspects of this will give her the agility of an antelope and the speed of an antelope. But it also will give her the cunning or smartness of a leopard because it has leopard around her skirt. See? So she also has it on her left arm, which is the magical side. Right? So it's also has been fed, means that when they kill an animal, like a chicken to eat, the spirit of the animal is given to the object. That's what empowers the object. Okay? So the objects are normally carved by a sacred.
Since the late 1990s, GABA has closely examined reconstructions of cultural identity as it relates to exchanges between Africa and the Western world. Inspired by his own experiences living between the Netherlands and Benin, his birthplace in West Africa, the artist's work questions codes of identity and vow by playfully restructuring relationships between first and third worlds, the local and the global art, and the everyday. At once critical and lighthearted, his approach invites viewers to look beyond established systems and hierarchies and consider a new way of thinking and acting globally, one hinging on practices of adaptation and collaboration rather than on conformity. Art plays an essential role in the lives of the African people and their communities. It serves much more vital purpose than merely to beautify the human environment as art is usually employed in contemporary Western societies. The beauty of African art is simply an element of its function, for these objects would not be effective if they were not aesthetically pleasing. Its beauty and its content thus combine to make art the vehicle that ensures the survival of traditions, protects the community and the individual, and tells much of the person or persons who use it. Contemporary art is by its very nature and fluid, self-motivated, and resists classification. Contemporary African art particularly cannot be generalized and reduced to a singular concept simply by the fact that there are many art scenes happening all over Africa, and each is fooled by its own contextual parameters. Colonialism introduced a whole new world of ideas and artistic disciplines to contemporary African art within Africa. However, despite long sojourns away, they returned to their countries of birth to embrace new directions and the influences of political and social changes on the continent and to strive for world recognition of the existence of an African modernism within contemporary African art. In 1976, Basquiat and his friend Diaz began spray painting graffiti on buildings in Lower Manhattan. One of Basquiat's pieces, Irony of Negro Policemen, in 1981 was intended to illustrate how African Americans have been controlled by a predominantly Caucasian society. Basquiat sought to portray how complicit African Americans have become with the institutionalized forms of whiteness and corrupt white regimes of power, years after the Jim Crow era had ended. This then leads us up to the famous modern artwork by Picasso. Picasso demonstrated extraordinary artistic talent in his early years, painting in a realistic manner through his childhood and adolescence. During the first decade of the 20th century, his style changed as he experimented with different theories, techniques, and ideas. Several paintings by Picasso rank among the most expensive paintings in the world. The Garçon à la Pipe sold for $104 million at Sotheby's on May 4, 2004. The Doraemon à Uchat sold for $95.2 million at Sotheby's on May 3, 2006. As of 2004, Picasso remained the top-ranked artist. In the 1940s, contemporary art on the continent through the works of the African modernists was seen mostly as a sociological commentary on modern Africa and hardly considered as a serious, creative expression of its people. African art was primarily associated to primitivism and its influence, which beautifies the world which we come from.